To be here at Notre Dame High School, where the Sherman Oaks Residents Association, Homeowners Association, the Fighting Golden Knights of Sherman Oaks, led by your strong tackle, Richard Close, All-American, San Fernando Valley, All-City. How do you like that, Richard? All-American neighborhood activist. Without Richard Close, we don't have the success. We would be better, he said. But good evening. I don't do it alone. I'm honored to serve the city of Los Angeles. Our district starts in Silver Lake and goes all the way to Sepulveda. Goes from the north end of Oxnard all the way down to the Miracle Mile. But it's a neighborhood of great neighborhoods, a district of great neighborhoods. And I love Valley Vista. Anybody live on Valley Vista? Oh God, it is one of my favorite streets. I'm a street guy in Los Angeles, and I love your street. My chief of staff, Carolyn Ramsey, right here. Jonathan Brand, my chief of planning for the Valley. And Tommy Newman's taking complaints right there. 1-800-TOMMY-NEWMAN for Sherman Oaks problems. We'll see you in June. And I hope the microphone is better for those great talented people that's coming up in a minute. Both great people. All right, Richard Close.
Thank you. Right now.
On redistricting, when I came to Sherman Oak, the first thing I asked is, where is the Sherman Oak? And no one knew where it is, so we're going to create a Sherman Oak tree, the one tree, and I thank you, the beautiful twins from Grant High School, class of 2005. Good going, girls. We will have the one Sherman Oaks tree as a gateway right in Beverly Glen in Mulholland, and we will have that planted. We want you all there, because there should be a Sherman Oak before you get to Sherman Oaks, right? And lastly, this is a good thing. You're all invited later on. This is Centennial. Robin Meyer, retired city employee, community activist. Good job, Robin. We're going to celebrate the centennial of the water that Mulholland brought here. Mulholland didn't have a plastic bottle. He had a lot of hard-working people that brought water from the north to feed the Pueblo. This will be later on the year. We'll have a special ceremony in honor of the water. Because there's only two things. This is the only thing I want you to listen to. The only two things you really need in life are water and relationships. Water to nourish our food and cleans our body, but relationships. And I have a great relationship with the Homeowners Association led by Richard Close. I have a great staff and a great working relationship with people to get it done. And Captain, we're going to give you a hand, all the Van Nuys Division.
Thank you, Captain. I'd like to introduce the captain who's in charge of all police services. To the people in the back, people in the back, Captain Menzel is in charge of all police services for the Van Nuys Division, which includes Sherman Oaks. Can you give us a brief update of what's happening in Sherman Oaks and hopefully what is not happening in Sherman Oaks?
Well, I'll try to have as much energy as you can, but I don't know. Sherman Oaks is doing really well. The stats here overall for Van Nuys were -6.5% below our crime from last year. Sherman Oaks is doing really well. The only place where I still need you to help, shoulder to shoulder, lock it, hide it, keep it. Do not leave things in your car. Lock your car and lock up your home. Property crime is the thing that is plaguing Sherman Oaks and some of the rest of the San Fernando Valley. But if we all just remember to lock our cars, lock our homes, and keep the things out of sight, we'll all do well. Thank you very much, and enjoy the evening.
Last thing, okay. It's not the last thing, but yes.
The last thing, absolutely, be prepared. Earthquake, anything that comes up, just look at your phone book. American Red Cross, go online, because we do know, Captain, that the last time there was a quake of significance, 1994, and we're due. I hate to tell you, but Lucy Jones told me that. You know Lucy Jones at Caltech.
He's absolutely right. The underlying thing is we all need to prepare for that day that comes, because it's going to come. So remember, be prepared, have those emergency supplies, all the things you need, have a plan, and you'll be fine. So again, have a plan, and you'll be fine.
Thank you. Marshall Long and Bob Anderson. Also, the deputies that are here representing elected officials, please come up and briefly introduce yourself. Please come up right now. This is your opportunity. Bob Anderson, brief update on planning issues in Sherman Oaks with Marshall.
Hi, everybody. Just quickly, I've got two things I want to talk about. Helicopter noise, which plagues not just Sherman Oaks, but it plagues everywhere in Los Angeles. And we're working with a lot of other groups around LA to try to reduce it. Congressman Schiff, Congressman Sherman had introduced a bill in Congress that's the Helicopter Noise Release Act of 2013, and we're working with them and the state to try to get some action on reducing helicopter noise, especially Sherman Oaks. Second, keep your eyes out on the study being done on the East Valley Transit Corridor. They want to put a busway down the center of Van Nuys Boulevard, eliminate all of the left turn pockets, so that will help traffic a lot, and maybe run it down and end it where it won't connect with the new line that goes under the hill. They haven't figured that out yet, so we're keeping our eyes on it. If you have any questions, talk to me after the meeting. Thank you.
Marshall.
Thank you. The Eulogio Toscano project on Sepulveda, just north of the Galleria, will have a planning commission meeting April 25th at 8:30 a.m. at the Van Nuys City Hall. We'll be sending out notices in an email blast, or you could go on our website to find out. The news is mixed. We got some of what we wanted, but not all of what we wanted from the hearing officer, and we're still working on it. So I hope the councilman will come to our position on that. Thank you.
Okay, before we have any other deputies, including non-deputies, well, you're a deputy, Tamara, come on up. Come on up. Also, there's an old man in the back there I wanted to come up. Hey, old man who's talking to Wendy. Old man. Come on up. You used to be our assemblyman when you were a youngster. Bob Hertzberg, former Assembly Speaker, former Assemblyman for Sherman Oaks. Come on up here. You can barely walk.
I know it's. I lost 18 pounds. I'm getting
He lost 18 pounds. He must be running for something soon. Okay, what are you doing for a living? When are you going to run for office?
trouble. I'm causing trouble tonight. Is a good night. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you going to run for office again?
Come on, man. Tonight, I'm here as a enthusiastic supporter of a gorgeous candidate. That's all I can say. A great and gorgeous candidate. Okay. But I can't advertise because, you know.
It's supposed to be impartial.
But I'm here.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody have a button for me?
Okay. Shai.
Hi everyone, I'm Matthew DeBobney. I'm Congressman Brad Sherman's Chief of Staff. Congressman Sherman is very excited to have a unified Sherman Oaks in the new 30th Congressional District. Our office is just right here on Van Nuys and Addison. Thank you so much for all the advocacy you guys do, especially on the helicopter noise and now on Van Nuys Boulevard. These are issues we're taking very seriously and we want to get your guys' feedback. And Richard, thank you for having us tonight. We look forward to having Congressman Sherman come by a meeting very soon.
Thank you. Tamara, you're not here as a member of the school board, correct? What are you here for?
I'm Tamar Gallison. I am the neighborhood prosecutor for Sherman Oaks with the city attorney's office. And I have just been immersed lately in transients and squatters in Sherman Oaks, and I'll tell you all about it next month when we have more time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Butcher with Assemblymember Adrin Nazarian, and I just wanted to say hi, let you guys know we've introduced our entire legislative package. It's up online, and thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Okay, let's get on to the candidates. The candidates could please come up. Okay, John Eisen, who sits where? And Wendy Greuel, who? That's the right order. Okay. Wendy, right here. Right here, and what? And we have one microphone for you to share, because we're going to show people that it may be a raucous race that you guys share well. Okay, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Phil Schulman. You must be a candidate for something. Phil Schulman is a reporter for Fox News and lives in the slums of Sherman Oaks. I'm sorry, Studio City, right? I'm sorry. But, you know, it's a nice area, but not Sherman Oaks. But very knowledgeable. He's going to act as the moderator this evening, and assisting him is John Isaac. So I'd like to at this point turn the microphone over to Phil Schulman.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. This is the format for tonight. We're going to try to stick to it. Each candidate is going to give a 2-minute opening statement. Then I'll ask a few questions. Each candidate will have an opportunity to respond. We can take about 10 minutes of that. Then, something interesting, each candidate will get to ask the other a question or two directly. Then we have a lot of written questions from the audience, which we'll do. Whoops. And then we're going to have a fun lightning round at the end. Short, hopefully just yes or no questions, if that's possible. And then each candidate will have a closing statement. So we're going to keep it moving. We promise not to be boring. And we'll have you out of here by, we promise, by like midnight. We're lucky we have 2 highly qualified candidates. We all know them. I don't think you can make a wrong choice. Some of you probably made up your mind, some of you haven't. Our goal tonight is when we leave here, if you haven't made up your mind, we'll help you make a decision. We're going to try to get into some specifics, not listen to speeches. So with that, why don't we start? There was a coin toss, and Eric Garcetti, you would go first with an opening statement.
Thank you. Is this working? Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for coming here tonight. Thank you to the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, to Richard, the entire board, for championing a neighborhood that my parents who are here tonight brought me home to from the hospital. They took me to a crib on Woodcliff Avenue. My mom used to take me to the library all the time here. I grew up practically in the Sherman Oaks Branch Library. And the memories that I have of Sherman Oaks that have made me who I am is very much the core of why I'm running for mayor. I'm running to be your next mayor because I want this city to work again. And I'm running on a proven track record of results, of resolving everyday problems that people depend on. I know that you want somebody who's ready to lead our city on both sides of the hill. As a Valley native, as someone who played Little League here in this Valley, as somebody who has a record of transforming neighborhoods, I remember what it was like growing up here, and it's what I want to bring back to Los Angeles. And I've seen in my work in the last 12 years as a city council member, a city council president, that when we put our hands together and our heads together and our hearts together, anything is possible. Despite what some say that there is a difference in this race, and now this is down to 2 of us. I'm somebody with a record of proven results. You can see them for yourself in Hollywood, in Silver Lake, in Echo Park, in Atwater Village. With the support of residents and businesses working together, we have turned neighborhoods around during some of the toughest times the city has ever seen. That's not an abstract statistic. It is something material, tangible, and real. I have the independence to make the tough choices that we need in our next mayor, to balance the budget, to do pension reform, to create jobs, and to solve problems to get this city back on track. In contrast, my opponent is the hand-picked candidate of the DWP unit, somebody who has received almost millions of dollars now in unregulated money that's coming in, and makes her not the independent candidate we need. As president of the city council, I face the tough issues, and I would be honored to be your mayor. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Good evening, and thank you. And I just want us to recognize and send our hearts and prayers to those in Boston who were impacted the last couple of days, and know that we are thinking of them. So like Mr. Garcetti, I was born a few miles from here. The difference is I never left. I chose to live here. I chose to work here, to build a life here, and to raise my son in the San Fernando Valley. The fact is, most of you know that about me, because you know me. This matters because lots of charges have been made by my opponent that paints a very different picture of the Wendy Greuel that you know. Tonight's the night we're going to clear that up. I want those tough questions. I want to be challenged because the issues we face are complicated. They're very serious, and they deserve serious answers, not political platitudes or pandering. That's what leadership is all about. Because being mayor means taking charge, getting things done, and the job needs doing, trust me. City government is broken. When they're not chasing business out of town, politicians like my opponent put their money into special funds, perks, travel, other things that are not, I believe, the best interest of the residents of Los Angeles. And they irresponsibly have cut our fire and police services. Are there less fires and emergencies in Los Angeles? Did people stop getting sick, having heart attacks, or getting into car accidents? I don't think so. I'm proud to have the endorsement of our first responders. I've talked to the firefighters and paramedics here in Sherman Oaks, who tell me they want one thing, and one thing only, to save lives. They can't do that if they don't have the equipment, or the personnel, or the time. First responders get up every single day knowing it could be their last one, and we owe it to them. We owe it to them to have every tool, every resource available to do their jobs, to save lives, and to come home to their families. I'm running for mayor for them. I'm running for mayor for you. And I look forward to our conversation tonight. Thank you.
All right, we're going to stipulate that you both have strong ties to the San Fernando Valley, and you both love Los Angeles. When all the endorsements are made, the ads have run, the campaigning is over, and people go into the booth or they mark their ballot, what personal qualities about yourselves do you think people need to know in order to help them make a decision? Let's go back and start with Eric.
Thank you. You know, the record that I bring, I think there's a difference between attacks and accomplishments.
Yeah, but we're talking about personal qualities, not
I'm going to
the
get to
record.
that, because I think that that is a personal quality. And the way that we ran the campaign, the first round, focused on differences that had to do with facts. There weren't personal ad hoc attacks, the kind of things like we've seen in a website that was launched by Ms. Greuel today. I bring in my experience as a naval officer, as city council president, as somebody who's been acting mayor dozens of times, including in times of crisis, and somebody who truly is a coalition builder, somebody who has brought people together to do difficult things. When you go there, I want you to think about two things when you're assessing who to vote for. Who has actually turned neighborhoods around? Look at Hollywood, look at Silver Lake, look at Echo Park, look at Atwater Village, look at the work that I have done, together with community just like in this room. And then the second thing is who has made tough decisions. These last 4 years were the toughest economic times we had. And the personal qualities that I bring is that while somewhere on the sidelines, we did pension reform. Hundreds of millions of dollars. We had a chief financial officer, and we had a city council president, and one of us actually did that work. I'm not backed by a lot of the unions that are at City Hall right now, probably because of that work. But it was necessary to save us from going bankrupt. It was necessary for us to do the right thing. You need a mayor who won't just try to be all things to all people. You need a mayor who won't just tell you the things you think you want to hear. You need a mayor who will do the things that need to be done, and those are the qualities I bring to this race.
I want to first answer a question, and then I want to respond to, I think those were attacks, but he said he wasn't going to do. That's a little bit hypocritical. I'm running for mayor, and the qualities that I have, it's a different experience. Not only did I work for Mayor Bradley and work for the Clinton administration at HUD, and yes, help bring $1 billion to this region. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I also helped run our family business in North Hollywood. 66 years my grandfather owned that business, and I was part of that during my lifetime of knowing that we were creating jobs. To being part of an iconic entertainment industry and creating jobs here in the San Fernando Valley. But I also have been that independent fiscal watchdog. Because let me tell you, being the city controller means you don't make friends. Think of the audits I've done that have taken on, yes, the DWP, yes, the Department of Transportation, yes, the Planning Department, and yes, even the City Council. Because I think it's too important, because guess what? The taxpayer dollars are your dollars. And let me tell you, particularly, and I said this before, that there are lots of opponents of things that have been said, and I'll probably be able to finish all of it in this comment. But I want to make sure that you understand that I've been the independent fiscal watchdog, that I've been the person that has taken on those tough issues. I've stood up and said, the emperor has no clothes. So when you think about the qualities you want, because the neighborhoods we've improved, guess what? We did that together here in Sherman Oaks. We stood together and said, how do we protect our neighborhoods? I'm proud of that, of representing Sherman Oaks. I'm proud of what we've been able to do. And the qualities you want is someone who will be trusting and fair and open and honest. And those are the qualities I ask when you consider running for.
Hang on there. So whether it's the LA Times, the Daily News, the radio stations, the TV stations, daily coverage of the campaign, what has the news media gotten completely wrong that you need to correct? Whether it's yourself, the other candidate, the race in general?
Well, I think I want to address, because my opponents brought it up in the first two things that he said about DWP. As I like to say, there it goes again. That's hypocrisy. That is pure hypocrisy. Because let me tell you, my opponent, number one, has taken thousands of dollars from the DWP units. Number two, took money from the DWP for a world-class trip to another country. Also voted for raises for the DWP employees in 2009. Also raised your raise during the last several years. And I think it is important that you know that. Also voted for $175,000 for a DWP Rose Bowl float. I don't think that's what our money should be spent for. And I have something to tell you, I voted against it. And I hate to rain on his parade, but let me tell you, I think it's important to have the facts out there, because he's questioned my integrity. He has questioned my integrity. And you know me, and let me tell you, particularly, this is not the person who's gotten fines for taking free tickets. How many of you got free tickets to go to the Academy Awards? How many of you got free tickets to go to different places? I don't think so. And I think it's important to point that out. And 13 different ethics violations. The LA Weekly and the LA Times has said there was conflicts of interest for voting for the billboards and that contract. So I want you to understand, when someone says to me that I am beholden to someone else, I have stood up and been independent. And I think it is hypocritical to suggest otherwise. And that's why I'm here tonight to say, this is who I am, you know who I am, and I hope you will vote for me.
So I know you're trying to answer the questions minimally and then make the point that you want to make regardless, but
I didn't hear anything about what the press got wrong, so I'll try to answer the question.
All right.
Because all of that's what I call the kitchen sink, is an attempt to distract from a record of results, a record of accomplishment. Number one in job growth. According to the Chamber of Commerce, who's endorsed her, number one in my district over the last 2 years. In the midst of a recession, we've added jobs back. You can see it with your own eyes. You go to Hollywood Boulevard, you go to Silver Lake, you go to Echo Park, you can see that with your own eyes. Making tough decisions. Ms. Greuel said that she hasn't made a lot of friends. She's made a very good friend in the DWP union. Taking a couple $1,000s in past elections pales in comparison to what so far is $3 million. This is a record, ladies and gentlemen. A record for a mayor's race. It's never been anywhere close. You see, the regular rules that we voted for was that the maximum of $1,300 can be given in a campaign. Just last week alone, they put $500,000. My average donation is a little bit under $500. That's like 1,000 people's voice being silenced by one. And the record shows that I've stood up for ratepayers. We beat back rate increases just 2 years ago. I established a ratepayer advocate that Ms. Greuel opposed, an independent voice to give you a second voice. She didn't want it to be independent. She wanted it to be someplace else, and she opposed it. So I will set the record straight and return to the record, because I think the press coverage has been pretty darn good. I think we actually have had a press that's doing its job, that is exposing when numbers don't add up, like claims of $160 million identified fraud, waste, and abuse, but in reality, only $239,000 actually brought in. We could talk about trips. I was on some of those trips with you, Greuel.
Eric, it's 2020. Yes. You've been mayor for 8 years. You're giving your last State of the City address like Mayor Villaraigosa did last week. What will it say?
In 2020, Los Angeles is a city that believes in itself again. Yeah, it's 2021, actually. Well, let's say it's 2020. I have one more year left. It's a city where we've seen an economic rebound by investing in those industries that are going to be part of the economy in the future. That we started in our schools looking at vocational education again, like I've done. We put job centers around the city like I've done in my own district to help people from veterans to unemployed to high school graduates to get jobs like the ones that I fought for at Van Nuys Airport with the aviation mechanics program that was going to be cut. A place where we see a pathway in those new industries like digital information companies where maybe it's not shop class that gives you a factory job, but instead it's computer programming that makes you get hired by a .com that's here in a resurgent city. It's a place where City Hall listens to you, where it answers your phone calls and returns them, takes care of your problems, does the work that I've done for 12 years and will do as mayor, walking door to door and actually surprising constituents by knocking on their door and asking, how am I doing and what can we do better? A place where you can have office hours and meet with the mayor who meets and works not just for press conferences and for events, but works out of Van Nuys City Hall. A place where we believe again that this is a city that is only limited by what 4 million people can do because we have an accountable city government again. It is not captured by any special interests, but one that listens to the people. That's my LA of 2020.
First and foremost, the 405-101 will not be the worst intersection in the entire country. Two, our streets will be repaved instead of us, as you've heard me say, that our rivers are paved and our streets are not in the city of Los Angeles. That our trees are trimmed, that our sidewalks aren't like this, that our seniors have affordable housing in the city of Los Angeles, that we have a seamless public transportation system so you don't need a car, that our kids who graduate from high school and college, actually they graduate, that we don't have a dropout rate in the city of Los Angeles, that we have schools where you can go to your neighborhood school and feel as though it's a place where you can be able to have a great education. As I've told you, my son, he's told me right now he will live next door to me for the rest of his life. He's 9.5. But I want it to be a place where he believes that. I want to be a place where you can have your thriving entertainment industry and those jobs here, those good paying jobs. Where you can have manufacturing in a place where people can have jobs that pay them a good wage. Where you can make sure that in the city of Los Angeles you can walk to your corner place without having to get in your car and feel safe. Where the firefighters come to your 911 call faster than they do today. And guess what? I am not going to wait till 2020 for them to return your phone calls. It's going to happen before then. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, last quick question before we move on to where you get to question each other. Power. What specific power does the mayor have other than appointing commission members in City Hall? And how would you use it? Can you keep that, since you're talking about your vision, because we're often talking about that, what can the mayor actually do? You don't vote for a law, you don't, go ahead, 1 minute, and then we're going to get to you two asking each other questions.
First and foremost, we hire and fire our general managers. I'm not going to ask them to fill out an application. I know whether they're doing a good job or not. I'm going to make sure that they are going to work and make sure that each of those departments are operating in a way, and I'm going to hold them accountable. That's what the mayor has. That is one of the biggest powers the mayor has, to hire and fire general managers. Two, I'm going to take those audits because guess what? Don't you think there's waste and abuse in the city of Los Angeles? Don't you think there's more than 239, whatever the number he just put out there? Because guess what? If, for example, I found $1.2 million that they were not collecting animal services, guess what? That's wasted. Today, if they haven't changed their evil ways, what could we do with that $1.2 million? Better services. That's what I'm going to do as mayor, make sure that they're implemented. But it is important, the power that you have is not only the power of the bully pulpit, but more importantly, to hold your general managers accountable. It's to set the agenda for the city of Los Angeles. It's to put a budget forward that's responsible for public safety, public works, and job creation. That is the most important priority, is having a budget that's balanced and is going to provide the services to the residents of Los Angeles.
The power of the mayor is both formal and informal. The formal power to appoint our general managers. I was the first person, still I think the only candidate to say that I would ask all of my general managers to reapply. It is a chance to make sure that we can, if we need to, clean house. but that we look at general managers as actually setting goals that can hold them accountable and me accountable as your next mayor. That is the most important thing that you can do. You also appoint your commissioners and you hire staff. But the informal power is doing things like being able to go up to Sacramento and saying it's time for us to expand our state filming tax credits so that it's not just $100 million, but maybe no cap at all, so that we can bring filming back here in the heart of where it all started. So that we can do things like looking at making sure that our school funding, which right now hovers at $7,000 per student, while New York and Massachusetts have $14,000 and $18,000 per student, changes. To make sure that we also bring people together. And being a former city council president, I'm very proud that 10 of my colleagues have endorsed me. They've worked with both of us. Just like the 3 folks who ran with me last time, who all endorsed me. That speaks volumes of my ability informally to bring people together.
Thank you. All right, this next segment, each of you gets to ask 2 questions of the other candidate, and we'll start with Eric.
Ms. Greuel, you talked about being tough with the DWP pensions and DWP system. The DWP pension system right now comprises $7 billion in assets. You're currently doing an audit of pensions, but you have excluded the DWP pensions. Why?
Well, for one reason, we do it every 5 years, and the DVP pension system will be the next one that is coming up, and we haven't reached that 5 years. Unfortunately, I don't have that many auditors. I have 13 auditors out of the entire city of Los Angeles. Industry standard should be 6 for every billion. I should have 42. And for the entire city of Los Angeles, I should have 120 if you include DWP Airport and Harbor. Now, I think it is important to know that I have audited the Department of Water and Power 8 different times. And my colleague here, suggested that I was the only one getting some independent expenditure, which I don't have any control over, and let me tell you. But he's got hundreds of thousands of dollars as well that are spent on him, but he neglects to tell that. And on the ratepayer advocate, let me tell you, I wanted that ratepayer advocate. But I didn't want to wait a year and a half to have the ratepayer advocate, because what's happened in that year and a half? A lot happened at the DWP. They raised their rates. Guess what? They raised your rates. I wanted that ratepayer advocate to be independent, and I wanted it to be independent as quickly as possible. It was important to do that. And I supported it on the ballot, but I said we just needed to do it much more quickly. So just let me tell you, I have audited, I did a number of audits on the DWP, and on this audit, we'll look forward to that, but I'm auditing the pension system. And look, listen about pension reform. I said there was pension reform. Did they do pension reform on the DWP? How many of you think they did pension reform the last 4 years? No. What have I suggested in this campaign and others? When I become mayor, we're going to do pension reform at the Department of Water and Power. Well, since DWP seems to be an issue, I want to bring something up. Back in 2009, voters considered a solar plan pushed by the Department of Water and Power. Full disclosure, I supported it. It was called Measure B. Just before Laura Chick left, my predecessor, she did an audit. $1 million audit that was critical of the Department of Water and Power. That audit was also critical of Measure B. My colleague received a personal email from someone on the Measure B campaign asking him to delay the hearing of the audit. And he responded with, "I'll see what I could do." He wanted to delay the hearing before the election. So lo and behold, the audit hearing was delayed until after the election, and was never heard by the full city council. A very important audit. And so I asked my colleague, why did you prevent it from being heard?
Ms. Greuel said that she's done 8 audits at the DWP. She just stated that. You can go to her own website if you don't believe me, because she says how much she's come up with. She's come up with $0 in fraud, waste, and abuse at the DWP. Now, do you believe that there's $0 of fraud, waste, and abuse at the DWP? I talked to Ms. Perry, who was chair, and we did not delay it, and that was something I'm glad you pointed out that you supported, by the way. And I haven't taken 12 meetings in the last couple of years with the DWP lobbyists. There is a huge difference between $3 million being spent on behalf of your campaign. It's distorting democracy. It's not just about a DWP union, by the way. This could be a single business doing this. This could have been Chevron. This could have been another thing. to take $5 million that we both raised, and it was here in this room. Remember last time it was dismissed as a gimmick when I said, why don't we, who have both been for campaign finance reform, do something about it? Take a pledge to say no to the super PACs. It worked in Massachusetts with a Republican and a Democrat, and you dismissed it as a gimmick. And now $3 million is a lot different. A lot different, and sure, there's friends of mine this time who are not going to lie down as somebody seeks to buy this election. The DWP union needs to know this election is not for sale, and this city is not for sale.
Hey, Eric, still the mic is yours. You have another question.
All right, we'll stay on the DWP then.
Do we want more DWP?
One last question. You've done something on the city website, posting all the salaries of our city employees, but you have not included DWP employees. Why not?
I think it's important first, because I did 8 audits, and I think all of you know auditing. What you do is you find some things that were wrong, and you find some things that can change in the future. I looked at how they were using their credit cards and said it was wrong. I looked at how they were doing renewable portfolio standards and saw that was wrong. I saw that they were giving special contract procedures and not doing out to bid. That was wrong. So I had 8 good audits, and I wish I had more money to be able to do more, but I'm going to make sure that the next controller has more money to do those audits and continue to do it for DWP. Now, look, the proof is in the pudding. The hearing did not happen before the election. When you respond with, I'll take care of that, guess what? It didn't happen, and it never happened. It never happened. It never happened. So the question was, I forgot your question already, Mr. President. Oh, the DWP salaries. So if you look at, I was the first elected official in a major city to put all of our city employees' salaries on the website. All of them. I don't do the DWP payroll, so I don't have them on my site because of that. I have a link to the Department of Water and Power who provides it another level. But I also asked the Department of Water and Power to put it on their website as well. But I don't do the DWP's payroll, so I don't have that information in my office as a city controller. But I asked them, I'm on record in the articles, and a letter that I sent to the Department of Water and Power asking them to put it on their website as well. They required, I think it's by state law, to have that information is available, and you can link if you look at my website on that today. The LA Weekly reported in February that while on the city council, that you own stock in a digital billboard company, when you voted to give them Clear Channel Outdoor an exclusive contract worth millions of dollars and put up hundreds of billboards, and you did not disclose this conflict of interest. You stated in the defense that you didn't know Clear Channel Outdoor was the same company for Clear Channel Communications. Now you're a smart guy, Eric. I know that, a Rhodes Scholar. But there was a lack of disclosure. So I would ask why you didn't disclose it, and how could you not know that Clear Channel Outdoor was the same as Clear Channel Communications and a subsidiary?
So just one last note, State Controller John Chung does have the DWP salaries on his website. So this is information you can put up, and it shouldn't be so difficult. It seems to be more than a coincidence. When the stock was there, I owned Clear Channel Communications, which is primarily radio stations, and I didn't know. When I found out, that stock I've never gotten a dollar from, it's donated to charity a long time ago. So we took a vote on that. That was radio stations, Clear Channel Communications, and I didn't realize at the time they had invested in Clear Channel Outdoor. They are 2 companies actually, even though they are linked, as I learned later. We got rid of that stock. It has been donated to charity, and it's a non-issue. This is again, yet another way that Ms. Greuel is trying to distract from. Do you like the tone of this debate so far? Because for me, I'd love to talk to you about how we've reduced unemployment in my district. I'd love to talk to you about my plans on vocational education like we talked about. I'd love to talk to you about my Great Streets program. I'd like to talk to you about the summer jobs program for youth that Ms. Greuel dismissed because I guess she doesn't want to see young people in the city working in the summertime. I would like to talk about the issues here, and you will see this kitchen sink for the next 4 or 5 weeks. But I will continue in this campaign to elevate and to make sure that we talk about issues, not personal attacks.
Are you okay with that? We want to talk about issues, we want to talk about specifics. I don't think either of you are going to get elected mayor based on criticizing the other's ethics or honesty. Could be wrong. We've got a lot of questions from the audience. We're going to have time for several of them. Again, a couple minutes to respond. And are we getting, are we making progress here? Enough with the DWP, or? Yeah. All right. Because we want you to get something out of this. All right. Alan, the city of Los Angeles has a huge population of film and TV talent. A lot of them are unemployed. So what can you do specifically to help production stay in LA or return to LA?
Yeah, good question.
Let's start with it.
Thank you. You know, this is a very important question for us because if we were New York City, wouldn't let the banks die out. If we were Detroit, we wouldn't let the car company go away. But here in Los Angeles and California, more specifically, we're letting this industry die here. I've done something very specific this year when we saw the television pilots, 1-hour dramas for the networks. 3 years ago, 80% of them filmed here. 2 years ago, 40% did. And last year, there were only 2 that filmed in Los Angeles. So I introduced something, and we'll vote on it soon, to make filming television pilots here in Los Angeles free. We'll waive all the fees and permits in the city of Los Angeles. And hopefully if you get picked up for the first year, we'll waive it, because if it gets picked up here, it'll probably stay here if we can keep it here for the first year. But it is my number 2 priority after school funding at the state level. And I've held hearings on this in my committee where we've shown with studies that every dollar in the tax credit at the state level gets $1 back to the state treasury to lift the $100 million cap that right now exists. We are seeing films, a few of them win the lottery on July 1st and the rest leave. We have to expand it to more categories, including video gaming, premium cable, blockbusters, and keep this filming here. And as mayor, I also will hire in my first 2 months a film czar, somebody who will reach out and do the work as I have done and I will continue to do as mayor, visiting sets, picking up the phone and calling producers, talking to television executives and keeping them here. My father works as a producer on television show here, Major Crimes.
Thank you.
And the work that we have seen when they stay here is the very best place to film in America.
Thank you.
We have to rebring that back.
This is near and dear to my heart for a couple of reasons. One, I worked at DreamWorks Movie Studios and learned how important the jobs are that are created by the entertainment industry. But 2, my husband's in the industry too, and he, you know, if he has to work sometimes, he may have to go to another state or another country to do that. It's about our families. I've served on the California Film Commission for 10 years. I've advocated for the film tax credits. And as a city council member, worked towards reducing the fees, doing that on the city council so you wouldn't have to pay for some of the charges, reducing the business tax, the creative tax, and ultimately getting rid of that. But I'll tell you, producers, you talk to them, producers and directors, you can tell. So look at you, Bruce, over there. It's all about those tax incentives. And I fought over the years to make sure we had those tax incentives. We only have, I know it sounds like a lot, but $100 million in the state for those tax incentives. And other states and other cities are providing a 35% tax incentive. It's about dollars and cents. We have to keep those jobs here because it's not just about in front of the camera, back of the camera. It is about that restaurant owner. It's about the dry cleaner, the makeup. It's the driver, it's security, all of that. I've gone up and testified and met with elected officials and said it's important that we keep this tax incentive because it is, and we've worked very closely in doing that together. Because the mayor and the role that I'm going to play, that I have played for the last 10 years, it's not a new role. It's not a role I get paid for. It's a role to make sure that we keep entertainment jobs in LA. That's why I'm proud to have IATSE and so many other entertainment workers supporting me in my candidacy.
Okay, let's let Wendy start with this one. NFL football. We all like the NFL. Is it important to the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association that we have an NFL football team in Los Angeles? And then what would you do if you want to bring one here to help get one here? If you think that's something that a mayor should or could do.
Okay, how many of you grew up going to the Rams games? Rams, okay, Raiders? Raiders. Okay, sometimes. Those were dangerous times, I know. But I did grow up going, and I went to UCLA games and even a few USC games. I've supported, I believe, supported the NFL and the stadium with a couple of caveats. 1, no city dollars. 2, deal with traffic and environmental issues. But if you look at, I don't know how many of you have gone down there to LA Live, into the convention center, it is a thriving place. Jobs have been created, people are spending time, tourism, convention centers doing well. Guess what? If you do it right, it can help the city of Los Angeles. And you may never go down there. But if it creates jobs, it creates tax benefits for us, I think it's a good thing. I think it's an opportunity. And if we have the right kind of public transportation, environmental, and make sure we're not using our tax dollars, I supported NFL. We just need a team. I'm not so sure. That's going to be our biggest challenge.
Can you talk and answer that question about what specific things you could do as mayor to make it happen, other than supporting it in
Absolutely.
principle?
Well, I've worked very hard on this. As city council president, I made sure that we put an ad hoc committee together that I appointed to make sure that we protected taxpayers first and foremost. That was very important, that we not subsidize billionaires, as we've seen so many cities fall into that trap where they are paying off the interest on stadiums built at taxpayer expense, and we accomplished that. But does Sherman Oaks have a lot to gain from a football team besides the emotional connection that some of us may have with football? Not a lot, because there's not a lot of football games and permanent jobs once the construction ones are done. But what we did was we did look at our convention center, which is critical to jobs in this city. We have been 30th in the country in terms of booking conventions, the second largest city in America. With the addition of some hotel spaces in LA Live, we're now 15th. But we really should be the top 5. And so the way the deal is structured is that if somebody comes in and builds the football stadium, they also rebuild our convention center, and not coming out of our general fund to do that. And what's important about that is those are the sort of permanent jobs that, yes, people in Sherman Oaks and throughout this city need to benefit from, which is why I've been so focused in this campaign and my work on jobs and job creation. We have to get serious about doing what I've done in my district, which is putting jobs back in this city, whether that's looking at vocational training and better education reform, making this a more business-friendly city by getting rid of our city's gross receipts tax, which chases businesses away, or whether it's looking at streamlining the ability to get a small business or a big business up and running. And I've been in contact with the NFL directly, and will continue to be with those owners. As I said though in the last debate, any team but the Raiders, because crime has gone down every year since they've left.
All right, we've got a lot of questions from the audience about jobs. Job creation is something that you both talk about. But can you, Eric, please start by telling us, give us an example of an actual job that you created. What it is, who is it, where is it, what does it pay?
Well, I have a little different philosophy. The private sector creates jobs, but we've been instrumental in helping to catalyze that. I'll give you one example. In 2001, when I took over as city council member in Hollywood area, Kaiser and Children's Hospital and Hollywood Presbyterian are all great employers there. And they were hiring for nurse assistants, but they weren't even advertising in Los Angeles anymore. They're advertising in other states, in other countries, but not here in Los Angeles, because they said we weren't graduating anybody with those skills. So we came together with the hospitals, with some labor unions who represent nurse assistants and others, and we looked down the street at Los Angeles City College, and I said, well, they have a nursing program there, of course. And they said, no, it was cut 2 years ago. So we helped that come back. Even though the community colleges are the responsibility of the city, it was my responsibility as council member. And we brought that back and started something called a healthcare career ladder that helped people in the neighborhood get ready in high school with math and science, then get into a professional school with vocational ed, and become a nurse assistant. After a couple of years, they could train to become a licensed vocational nurse, which is a bump in payment. In their pay and in their salary and benefits. Maybe even become a registered nurse. And over 1,000 people have graduated from that, and we continue to do that now in new industries, whether it's in solar installation, whether it's in security for our veterans that are coming back. I'm very focused on veteran jobs right now. Our first job coordinator for veterans, for those who are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, was just hired in the city of Los Angeles with action that I took, because we owe these men and women who are coming home our best job. And I'll leave you with a statistic: 40% of the veterans at LA City College are homeless. We need to get them off the street and into a job.
Thank you. I want to ask you the same question. I know as controller, it's not part of your job description, but going back to your days on city council, or if you become mayor, what jobs can you create, or will you create specifically?
Well, a couple things. As I mentioned earlier, my family's had a business for 66 years. We created jobs. We created opportunities. My father came to the San Fernando Valley, my grandfather, came to the San Fernando Valley and called it Frontier because the valley was a new frontier 66 years ago. It was a place where you could create jobs and opportunities. We need to change that. When I came on the city council, one of the things I fought for initially as architect of business tax reform was to say, how do we keep the jobs that are here and how do we grow them? Because guess what? Businesses are moving to other cities, right? Guess what? They take their tax base with them. We need to keep jobs in the city of Los Angeles. And that's a critical part of it. Small, medium-sized businesses. Remember, OPI nail polish. How many of you, okay, the women, you know OPI nail polish. Where's it located? The San Fernando Valley. The importance of it, of keeping those jobs, interestingly enough, when it was in my old district, and George Schaefer, who was the owner, sold it. And I read about it in the paper. I was controller then. And I looked at it and I called him and I said, George, you're not going to take those 500 jobs away. He said, no, I'm going to keep it here. And he said, you're the only elected official who called me. We need to have someone every single day that is focusing on jobs. That we need to get rid of the gross receipts tax in a responsible way. We need to create a tech fund to keep those jobs in Los Angeles. We need to make sure that the jobs are going to the residents of Los Angeles. How about hire LA and not go somewhere else to hire the places we need? As a city council member, I worked on creating jobs in Los Angeles as a small business owner, as someone at DreamWorks Studios, and as the controller, making sure that we're spending the right money.
All right, hang on to that mic. Charles asked a question about the quality of life, and I want to modify it just a little bit. As you spend time in the Valley, Sherman Oaks, Studio City, Encino, Toluca Lake, all the communities here, not talking about traffic, because that's going to be a whole big question later. What are the most